Hi there, my name is David. I'm a novice gardener. I'm here to give an honest review of Subpod, or the Subpod Mini. So this is Subpod. It's made by an Australian company, I believe. It's a worm hotel. So I was first introduced to vermiculture, or using worms to break down scraps and turn it back into soil. During my permaculture design course about, I want to say at least 8 years ago now. And I was introduced to, or the worm farm I was introduced to on that farm where the course was being held was actually a bath. So that was my introduction to worm farming. It was just a bath. I think it had like a tarpaulin on the top and a few bricks just to weight that down. And you just peeled the tarpaulin back and threw your scraps in, and the worms did the rest. So yeah, it doesn't. We don't need technical bits of kit. Really, we can use what we have to hand. One of the drawbacks to worm farming is actually like, how do we get the soil out of the worm farm? Because obviously all the worms are in there doing their thing, and it's just a long drawn out process to separate the worms from the soil. So one of the advantages of Subpod is this is in situ, it's buried into your bedder. I've got all the weeds so you can't quite see my bedder, but this is sunk into the bedder, and the worms are in theory coming in and out of the worm farm, taking nutrients. Nutrients will be leaching into this bedder without me having to do any work. So that's the theory. This is I was going to say it's my latest worm farm. It's probably, I've bought one since. I've got 2 Subpods. Let's start at the beginning. My first worm farm was a stacking system worm farm, which I'll show you in another video. Yeah, we'll get into that in another video. I did that for a good few years. And then my second purchase was, at the back there is a wheelie bin with like a jungle in here. Worms in Peace, that's the urban worm folks. They upcycle wheelie bins, turn them into worm farms, which is a great idea because obviously you can get a huge volume of stuff composting, and that's just a small bin, so you can still get a huge amount compared to a wee Subpod. This is the mini version, so the Subpod do, I guess, a normal version, and then the normal version's like for maybe a family of 4, and this would be maybe, I don't know, a family of 2 or 3, I think. I don't know if it's quite, yeah, maybe it's twice the size of that this one, the normal one. It has a partition wall in. So it's quite a bit bigger. It's kind of the same depth from looking at them. This is, it's advertised at 130 quid, so they're not cheap. There's a 40% flash sale on. Now Subpod has had a flash sale on in, I don't know, the 2 or 3 years that I've known them. Like, there's just always a 40% flash sale on. Their marketing is sort of second to none. Like, they really know how to get people to buy these things, which I don't say disparagingly. I think if it was left to us organic farmers, then we probably wouldn't get many people involved with worm farming. You need to know your way around marketing, and you need to make worm farming sexy to be able to sell the idea, at least. Like, why we're trying to get people to wholesale change their lives. We're introducing something brand new that they've not heard of, and obviously worms have kind of connotations of being gross, so it's like a big ask, isn't it, to get people to make this lifestyle switch. The idea is a big ask. The actual running of it is very small. Like, there's no maintenance, and doesn't change your life. It's not like getting a dog or a cat where you have to get your neighbours to look after them, or a kennel when you go away. Like, these will just happily take over. You can leave them, really you can leave them for weeks if not months really, and the population will go down if you're not putting food in, but that's just like a natural sort of ecosystem, just adjusting to how much food you're putting in. So yeah, very low maintenance. What else do I want to say? So yeah, the marketing shit hot really, which is, you know, largely it's a good thing. They have the back of house or whatever you want to call it, like their social media stuff is shit hot. They actually have like a members area where you can sign up, and they have all the videos of how to, and all the stumbling blocks. Community, a lot of community people posting all their problems, and it does seem to be fairly active in there, so you'll get all the support and backup you'll need. I believe if you get one of these, if you're brand new, that might give you peace of mind. The kit itself, there's nothing to it really, otherwise it's just a big old plastic box with holes in. It comes flat packed in two parts essentially. The lid's separate, and then this base here is flat packed, and you just kind of pull the sides out, and then kind of, yeah, just sort of comes up into place, and then there's 3 pins to put the lid on. It actually can be a bit of a bugger to put together, or not to put together, but just to get it square and everything. It actually just clips into place, but as you can see when I put this down, it actually catches. So that's been since day one, and not overly impressed with that, but I think that's just the nature of it coming flat packed, and obviously they can, in a container on the big ships, they can get thousands flat packed together, versus having something solid. It's just the economy of scale of producing these things, that number, to make it worthwhile as a company, I guess. So it's a small bugbear, but we can live with it. We can forgive them for that. That's how they make their money. This is my bigger ones, an older version. This is I think this is, I don't know if it's 100% recycled plastic or something, but they brought in more environmental sort of factors into this one, and I don't know how much that played into it being a little bit maybe more I don't want to say flimsy, because it's, you know, you can sit on that and it's strong. I'm not worried about it, but it's maybe a little bit more precarious how it's been put together. These clips aren't on the last one, the first one I bought, and I do worry about over time that, you know, the sunlight and just the movement, these snapping off. Not that it wouldn't affect anything too much. I mean, they talk about it being sort of pest proof, so you're not going to get any rats coming in and pulling your compost apart, which is a big reason to get one of these versus just having an open compost, just to keep any pests from being attracted in. Yeah, so, you know, the video that you watch when you see them put together and it goes up effortlessly, you just be prepared for some kind of snagging, kind of grunting and getting clips into place. It's never as easy as it looks, is it, on the manufacturer's sort of videos, but there you go. But, you know, it's impressive design in terms of how they get it all to flat pack, and yeah, with, you know, minimal fixings and fixtures really, just those 3 pins at the back. This is kind of cool, just like a cheat sheet on the back there, so if you forget, it just says step 1, remove blanket. So this is all you get with it, is the plastic Subpod itself, and you get this wee blanket. I think that's coconut, and that's just like kind of keeps the moisture in. The worms will chomp it. Not quite like getting into that. It's all fibrous, so it's easy for them to break down and stuff. So it's a good way to start off your worms. So when you're placing your scraps in, obviously you need to lift that blanket up, add your food scraps, and then step 3 is saying to add dry carbon. Like your sources of carbon would be things like cardboard and bits of paper and stuff. If you imagine all this sort of slimy food scrap stuff coming out your kitchen, it just balances out all of that. That's what we tend to look at as being nitrogen heavy, and then we want to always balance that out with carbon. Not all the time, but if you see it getting sludgy and stuff, then you probably want more carbon in there. Obviously everything we get delivered these days comes in cardboard, doesn't it? So I tend to have loads of cardboard, and I don't know, because we're kind of like everyone, busy family lives, I just tend to throw big chunks of cardboard in there. Eventually it'll break down, but really we should be giving the worms a bit of a fighting chance and just literally let them get them teeth stuck into it. But yeah, I just tend to throw a little bit of cardboard in. You could get straw or something like that if you have animals. I don't know, a rabbit hutch or a chicken. We've got chickens and stuff, so you can put cardboard in that way. It tells you to aerate, so step 4 is to aerate, and then it's saying moisten the blanket. Let's do the aeration thing first. I can't remember if this came with the Mini or whether this came with the... It's definitely Subpod, because it's got Subpod on it. I happen to have one of these anyway. The one I have is a bit stronger because it's all one piece, but this is screwed in. I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, but that's because it come through the post. So yeah, it's pretty nifty. And yeah, we don't want it getting stagnant. We want to oxidate. You know, when we get stagnant compost, we get the, I don't want to say bad bacteria, but yeah, bad bacteria if you like, or anaerobic bacteria, and that's the stuff that makes everything stinky. That process when it goes, if you have a compost at the bottom of your garden that you haven't turned for a couple of years, it's just all sludge and kind of nobody goes near it. That's gone anaerobic. So it's always good practice to try and get some oxygen into your compost. I'm kind of loath to do it with the worms because, well, it's their home, and I don't want to disrupt it too much. So yeah, I've got the blanket. Then I've actually got some rhubarb leaves, just because we picked some rhubarb. Just keeping the sun off today because it's super hot the last few days here. So just seeing if I can see any eggs or anything. Like I say, I normally just leave them to their own devices, but I also just want to show you guys. There's tons of worms. And, Whoop. So that's an egg, a worm egg. They're that little. If you come across those, that's what they are. You can see worms of all ages in there. So that, you know, they're thriving in there. Make sure they all go back in. Don't like to think of worms getting killed just because I'm having a look, but it is good to aerate it as well. I think did I drop one? Ah. No, we're all good. So I'm going to add some water because it is hot. And I'm led to believe worms can live underwater even for a week or two. So I don't think you can overwater them. And that's gone on easier there, hasn't it? Yeah, so if you feel inclined, maybe aerate it once a week, once a fortnight. Certainly, if you're wanting a faster turnover of scraps, then aerating is going to be the way to go. Because I've got so many composting options, everything just ticks over at its own pace, really. And normally, you'd want to get established with a lot of worms. Like, I don't know if it's like 2 pounds of worms or something. I actually send them through. You can get them through the post, but I did that about 8 years ago. But all my worms have I just moved them around now. So I just took a handful of soil from one of the original wormery and put it in there. So it was only a handful of worms, maybe even just dozens of worms in there when it started, and now it's like it's getting colonized, and that's only been a few months. It's already getting up to speed. But if you want to be up to speed right from the get-go, then it'd be worth getting a big chunk of worms, so you've got your little army of workers right from the start. Yeah, that's it really. So yeah, it was 130 quid, but it's because of the ongoing sale, it's 103 quid, I believe. This is the mini one. I'd be tempted to ask for the older ones if they have any of the older ones left. They're a brown colour rather than the kind of bluey grey. And that was a bit of a bugger to put together. The bigger one's a bit of a bugger to get the divider in. I see there's a few people complaining of the same thing on their feeds as well. So it's not just me, but to their credit, they have done loads of videos and to try and assist people when they get stuck and stuff. Yeah, the Subpod Mini is starting a revolution. They're selling a lot from what I can gather. They are flying off the shelves. Worm composting's been around for a long time, and it's probably the first time where it's gone sort of mainstream. I've seen on Instagram and seen students buying them and things like that. And I guess the appeal of these is like it's just in the ground and you just put your scraps in. People sort of saying they're sick of buying soil, so they want this to provide the soil for them, but realistically it's not going to provide the soil for your garden. You're still going to have to buy, you may get a couple of pots filled with it, but realistically if you've got a half decent sized garden, you're still going to need to bring in topsoil and whatnot. But I don't have it set up on here, but on my other wormeries there's a little tap for the worm juice, the worm tea that comes quite regularly, even maybe 2 and 3 days. You just turn the tap and you'll get really nutrient dense worm tea, and that's great for feeding all your plants. And just you can dilute it down and just go around watering. You can put it on neat directly onto your plants, and that's can't 100% say, but the plants where I tend to put it are really blossoming and stronger than ever. I've got a rose I'm trying to get established in the back there, and that's got, I don't know anything about roses, but I've got 5 or 6 beautiful blooms on there now, and I'm putting it down to the worm juice. So the worm juice is often not spoken about, but it's probably maybe even the main asset that you're going to get from this, because it's literally the tap. Just drain it off, turn the tap, and then you're good to go. If you want the soil, then you're going to have to separate the worms from the soil, and that's a bit more involved. Yeah, I think that's probably all I have to say on the Subpod. But I've got 2 now, so I must like them at some level. I think what they're doing is amazing, trying to popularise the whole worm farming culture. Won't provide a lot of soil, but what it will do is prevent your scraps from being taken to landfill. So all the fossil fuels of taking your food scraps to landfill, if we can stop that, if more and more people compost on site at home, whether that's bokusai or bokashi composting, fermenting technically, or whether it's worm farm stuff, I think they're 2 really good options for folks who maybe consider themselves non-gardeners and non-composting experts. It's 2 good ways to go. I hope that was worthwhile. The next video, let's do them in order. I'll probably do the stacking, my very first wormery, so look out for that. I really like the stacking system because you stack the layers, and the worms actually travel up for the new scraps, so it means the stuff below, you don't have to separate out the worms. You actually get easy access to the soil, so it gets around all the difficulties I've been talking about. Yeah, so stay tuned for that one. Stay tuned. Almost convinced myself I was a real presenter then. Alright guys, take care.